Okay, so for this video, first I want to start with kind of the main goals or objectives for this trip as a whole, and then I really want to drill down into what I'm hoping to accomplish on each specific day while I'm there. So for this trip, like as a whole, I'm approaching it a little bit differently than how I've approached other trips in the past. I have been to Disney World a few times at this point, and for my first few trips, it was all about getting as much done as possible. So every single day was completely packed full of stuff, which I'm glad that we did it that way. I would have been really disappointed coming home from those trips and not having done as much as we did. So I am really thankful that that's how those first few trips went. But I'm gonna tell you, it was super exhausting and kind of stressful at times. It was worth it at the time, but now that I've been to Disney World a few times and I've done so many of the things that I really wanted to do there at least once, I think for this trip, I'm gonna take things a little bit slower. At this point, my favorite part about going to Walt Disney World is going to Walt Disney World. Sure, the rides and attractions are great things to do while I'm there, but honestly, I don't go for the rides. I just go because it's one of my favorite places to be and I want to be there. So for this trip, I don't think I'm going to be as focused on trying to get on as many rides as I can every day, but really maybe just prioritizing like a few of my favorite rides and then giving myself the time and space to be able to just relax, sit down and rest if I need to, change plans if I need to, maybe even go back to the resort in the middle of the day, which I've never done before. So because I'm not going to be riding as many rides or visiting as many attractions every day, I am going to try to prioritize what I do a little bit more so that the few things that I do are the things that I most want to do while I'm there. Of course, there's a few favorites that I want to do while I'm there, but I also think I really want to prioritize doing new experiences for this trip. For the last couple of times that I've returned to Walt Disney World, I've had like a list of favorite things that I knew that I liked to do that I really wanted to do again, which is great. I'm glad that I did that, but there's still so many things at Disney World that I've never done before. A few of those things are because they're new and they weren't there the last time that I was visiting, but a lot of them are because they were either too long or too out of the way or just not as iconic or as big of a deal, so I figured it wasn't worth it, so I skipped it. But I figure now's as good a time as any to actually go do those things that I've never done before, especially because Disney has recently confirmed that they're getting rid of a lot of these less popular areas and attractions within the next few years. So I definitely want to make sure that I do some of those things while I still have a chance, because apparently there's a lot of changes coming to Walt Disney World within like the next 5 years. Now, if you watch my video about my initial experience booking this trip, you'll know that I have a park hopper ticket. So I do plan on taking advantage of that to some extent. The last time I had a park hopper ticket was back in 2021 for my last birthday trip, and at that point the park was still a little weird and recovering after their 2020 closures, and so there was a whole park reservation system, and park hopping really wasn't the full thing. And although technically you could park hop, there were still a lot of restrictions and limitations that prevented me from having the full park hopping experience. This time I won't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about park reservations or super limited capacity for each park, so that'll be nice. I can just bounce back and forth between the parks whenever I want, as much as I want, as long as the parks are open. I think my plan is going to have like one primary park per day, and then once I kind of finish things up there, then I'll park hop later in the evening. It just makes the most sense to me with how my brain works, and then with the new lightning lane system, I think that's the best way to accommodate that, but I don't know, we'll see once I get there. Now I am using that new lightning lane system every park day of my trip. To enter that lightning lane or that shorter queue area, first you have to have paid for the service, and you also have to have made a reservation for the time that you're going to be entering that queue. For resort hotel guests like me, we can make reservations up to 7 days in advance of the first day of our trip. So remember, I'm arriving to Walt Disney World this coming Monday. Today is Tuesday, So yesterday morning, I made all of the Lightning Lane reservations, but I did buy a Lightning Lane multi-pass for every park day of my trip. And then I also have a few of the single passes that I purchased kind of sprinkled in there. Now there's all these different limitations and rules of what you can book and when you can book it and in what park. Now I will say when I was making these Lightning Lane reservations yesterday, I struggled a little bit. Part of it was user error, part of it was the app. I was running on too much adrenaline and not enough sleep when I was making these reservations, and I accidentally reserved my first set of Lightning Lanes for my day of arrival and not my first day at the parks. So luckily you can modify your reservations, so I was able to switch some of those Lightning Lanes. Unfortunately, Disney doesn't really have a good way to cancel Lightning Lanes and get your money back though. But it was also kind of weird because you purchase one day's worth of Lightning Lanes at a time, and then like each separate day is a separate transaction. And every time I would try to check out for one day, it would tell me that there was an error and I needed to try again. But then when I went back into the app to check what I had reserved, those reservations had gone through, even though it told me that it didn't. So there was a lot of like weird back and forth that I had to do, and that happened for every day of my trip, so I don't know what was going on. Again, it's way more complicated than it should be and way more expensive than it should be, but this is my birthday trip and I am splurging, I'm treating myself, and if these Lightning Lanes save me even just a few minutes in these lines standing on my feet feeling hot and sore, that I'm going to consider it worth it, even though it is too expensive and overcomplicated. But looking at my overall goals and objectives for this trip: relax, take my time, try some new stuff, take advantage of park hopping, and use these Lightning Lanes. But all that being said, let's now take some time to dive into what I'm expecting or planning for my day-to-day. Obviously, I know things can change, something could happen, and all of my plans have to go out the window. I get that. There's just something so satisfying about planning out an itinerary. Even if it all doesn't go according to plan, I just enjoy the process. So starting with day one, this coming Monday. It still hasn't like sunk in that I'm leaving in less than a week. I did get pretty detailed in some of this itinerary, so let me check my notes. So I do have a morning flight on Monday. The flight is scheduled for 8:50 a.m. I was kind of hoping for something a little bit earlier so that I could spend more of my day actually at Disney, but everything that was before 8:50 was like way before 8:50 at like 5-6 in the morning, and I'm not doing that. I figured I'd rather spend a little less time at Disney that day and be like refreshed and well rested rather than getting there just a couple hours early and just being so tired that I'm miserable and can't enjoy the day at all. So leaving at 8:50, my parents have kindly agreed to drive me to the airport. My mom will help take care of my cats while I'm gone. My stepdad will help take care of my car while I'm gone. So starting off on the right foot for sure. And then I am going to be relying on free Disney transportation for most of my transportation while I'm in Orlando. The only thing is that Disney no longer offers free transportation from the airport for resort hotel guests. So that is something that I have to take care of myself. So I am going to be taking Mears Connect as my transportation to and from the hotel. I've taken it before, I'm comfortable with the system. I know taking something like a rideshare service or a taxi or some kind of like personal chauffeur service or something would be quicker, and some of those options aren't necessarily more expensive, but since I'm traveling alone, I just don't like the feeling of getting into a car with a stranger by myself, you know, especially if it's their personal car. So while taking a shuttle full of other families might be a little bit longer, I'm going to feel more comfortable throughout that process. And that is my top priority for transportation for this trip. I also appreciate that I know how much it's going to cost ahead of time. It's $16 each way, and I pay for it ahead of time. I don't have to worry about surge pricing or anything. So it's already reserved, it's already paid for. We're ready to go. The only thing that I'm not sure on is how long it's actually going to take me to get from the airport to the hotel. With these Mears Connect services, I'm going to be on a shuttle that's going only to Walt Disney World Resort hotels, but it's going to stop at multiple hotels. It's not going to be all of them, maybe just like 3 or 4, but depending on where my stop is on that route, it could be anywhere between like 30 minutes to like a couple hours. So I'm expecting to get to the hotel around 3 or 4, maybe give or take like an hour, but I don't have anything time sensitive scheduled for that day, so it's not going to be a problem. I'm going to be pretty flexible. Once I'm there, I think I'm going to spend the day just like exploring the hotel that I'm staying at, and that hotel is on the Skyliner, which is basically Disney's Sky Gondola transportation system, and there's some really cool hotels that are also on the Skyliner, so I might go visit some of those as well, just for like some shopping and dining maybe. But I'm really just so excited about staying at this hotel, which by the way is Art of Animation, and I really just want to give myself some time to like nerd out about all the cool stuff there is there. Okay, so that's day 1. The next day, Tuesday, a week from today, I want to spend a majority of my time in Magic Kingdom. Now, I'm choosing Magic Kingdom for my first day because that's the park that has the most amount of attractions that I want to do. So I figure if there's anything that I don't get to that first day, I'm still going to have the rest of the trip to be able to come back and do those things later because I do have that park hopping pass. That being said, I do think I want to take a break in the middle of the day and maybe go back to the hotel and kind of freshen up a little bit. I've never done that before, even though I have stayed on property for the last few trips. I've always just been like a park open to park closed kind of person, but since one of my priorities for this trip is to kind of take things easy and just enjoy my time there, I really don't want to wear myself out and exhaust myself on the first day. Plus, my feet do get really sore and really swollen really quickly, so I want to put that off for as long as possible and stay off my feet as much as possible. For Magic Kingdom on Tuesday, I do have a Lightning Lane single pass for Tron, which cost me $20 just for this one ride, just to save a few extra minutes of waiting in line. I told you, this stuff is way more expensive than it should be, but Tron is one of those new rides that hasn't been there for my other trips. So I really want to ride this ride, and I really don't want to spend too much time in line. It's also one of those rides that does not have a standard standby line. So the only way to ride this ride is to either pay to reserve a Lightning Lane pass or hope that you can get into the free virtual queue on the day of. And there's no guarantee that you can get a spot in the virtual queue, so I decided I don't want to risk it, just pay the $20. And then I also have a Lightning Lane single pass for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. That one only cost me $11, and honestly it wasn't in my original plan to get this Lightning Lane, but because of the whole reservation date mix-up error message thing, I ended up paying for an extra Lightning Lane single pass, so I had to reserve something, and it's been a little while since I've been on Mine Train, so I figured why not. I did also reserve my first set of Lightning Lanes with the multi-pass, so the multi-passes that I have for Magic Kingdom on the first day, which cost me $25 by the way, in addition to the other single Lightning Lane passes. But so far right now I have Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Haunted Mansion, and then as I use those Lightning Lane passes, I can book more throughout the day. Now, I did not get a Lightning Lane pass for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which was my primary goal for Magic Kingdom, so that's kind of a bummer, and that's another one of those rides where it currently does not have a standard standby line. The only way that you can currently ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Walt Disney World is if you can get a Lightning Lane reservation with the multi-pass, or if you can get a spot in the virtual queue on the day of. I tried to reserve a Lightning Lane pass yesterday. I tried to be fast enough, but all of the available Lightning Lane passes for Tiana's were gone within 15 seconds. And I'm not exaggerating, literally within 15 seconds, all the passes were gone, which I was expecting. I just wasn't expecting me to take so long. But not all hope is lost. It is possible that some Lightning Lane passes might open up at some point between now and when I leave to come back home from Orlando. And you never know, maybe I will get a spot in the virtual queue. But you can bet that I'm going to be actively checking to see if there's any open Lightning Lane passes as much as I possibly can, because I do really want to get on this ride. And then at the end of my Magic Kingdom day, I have every intention of seeing the nighttime fireworks show, Happily Ever After, which is the greatest nighttime fireworks show of all time, in my opinion. Now, there is a Halloween party in Magic Kingdom this evening, so the park is going to be closing a little bit early to us regular guests who don't have the additional ticket to the Halloween party. I'm not going to the Halloween party. It is too expensive and too hot and early in the year. Like, I'm all about getting the Halloween stuff out early, but when it's that hot, I am so not in the mood. So if I'm feeling up to it, I might park hop over to Hollywood Studios, which I think is open the latest that day. But it depends. If I'm starting to feel tired and worn out, I'll just go back to the hotel early. The following day, I plan on spending most of my time in Epcot. Epcot is the park that I'm probably going to be doing the most amount of walking, so I want to get that park done earlier on in my trip while I still have a little bit of energy left and I'm not completely sore and worn out yet. So I'm doing that for my second day in the parks. A lot of new areas have opened up in Epcot since the last time I was there. There's the World Celebration Gardens and Dreamers Point, and then Communicore Hall and Communicore Plaza, and the Way of Water Moana walkthrough thing. All of that was behind construction walls for my past couple of trips, so I'm really excited to see what the front of the park looks like, all opened up and done and brand new. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about some of the design choices that they made based off of some of the pictures and videos I've seen, but it'll be cool to see the new stuff anyway. At Epcot, I did purchase one Lightning Lane single pass for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. That cost me $15. And then I got my Lightning Lane multi-pass for $19 for this day. And so far I have reservations for Spaceship Earth, Frozen Ever After, and Living with the Land. Do I need a Lightning Lane pass for Living with the Land? Probably not. You can usually find pretty low wait times for this ride throughout the day, but it's my all-time favorite ride and one of my absolute least favorite queues. So if I can save a couple of minutes waiting in line, why not? Now, one thing that I am a bit bummed about though is that when I was first booking this trip, I was fully intending on experiencing the International Food and Wine Festival while I was at Epcot. For the past few years, that fest has started at some point in July, so I figured that by the time I was there in mid-August, the festival would already be up and in full swing. Not the case for this year. This year, they're back to starting that fest later in the fall, so it won't be going on while I'm there, which I guess isn't the worst thing in the world, but that is what I was originally thinking of doing for lunch and dinner on my Epcot day. And now that there's not going to be any festival booths, I'm gonna have to figure out something else for food. Now, the bright side is, since there won't be a festival going on, I'm hoping that Epcot will be a little bit less busy. And then Epcot does have a new-ish nighttime show that I haven't been able to see yet called Luminous, so I do definitely plan on seeing that on my Epcot day. Moving on to park day number 3, that's going to be a Thursday, and I'm hoping on spending most of my time in Animal Kingdom, mostly because I have no idea how I'm going to be feeling at this point of my trip. Even though I am going to be trying to take it easy and resting a little bit more, I can pretty much guarantee that by the time I get home, I'm still going to be super exhausted and super sore from all the walking that I'm inevitably going to be doing, and it's just going to be so hot and I'm not going to be getting much sleep at all. So with Animal Kingdom, I feel like I can play it by ear the most with that park. So at that point of the trip, if I'm starting to feel like tired or sore, or if I'm starting to get a little bit sick, I am totally okay with just doing a couple of attractions while I'm there and then spending the rest of the day just kind of sitting and chilling out and enjoying the atmosphere. But if I am still feeling energized and up to it at this point of the trip, there are so many things that I want to get done in this park. I'll just kind of have to play it by ear. I love Animal Kingdom. It has the best vibes out of any park in my opinion. And hot take, I think Animal Kingdom has the best drinks and the best food. I did get a Lightning Lane single pass for Avatar Flight of Passage. That cost me $14 for this day. And then with my multi-pass, I have Expedition Everest, Kilimanjaro Safaris, and Navi River Journey. There's also a few shows that I really want to see at Animal Kingdom, and those occur at specific times because they're shows. Like, it's not like a ride that just has people riding it all day. Like, these are scheduled shows. But unfortunately, they don't have show times available this far in advance, I don't think. So I don't know what all I can get to or when I can get to them, but I want to see as many of the shows as I can because they're just so good. Festival of the Lion King, love it. Finding Nemo, The Big Blue and Beyond, love it. Feathered Friends in Flight, never seen it before, but it's about birds, and I like birds, so I'm probably gonna love it. And then It's Tough to Be a Bug, probably actually won't love that one. I've never seen it before. I've kind of avoided it because even just watching like videos of it, it's based on a bug's life, and the theater is designed to be kind of like you're underground in an anthill. And even just looking at like pictures of it just makes me feel claustrophobic and gives me like the creepy crawlies. But Disney has confirmed that they are for sure going to be replacing It's Tough to Be a Bug with a Zootopia show relatively soon. So I do want to see It's Tough to Be a Bug before it's too late. So I'm gonna try. Speaking of getting replaced soon, Disney has also said that they're going to be replacing Dino Land USA in Animal Kingdom with a Tropical Americas themed land. They've been talking about it for years. There's been tons of rumors for years, but Disney has finally officially said that yes, they are moving forward with it, and they have kind of a general time frame in which they're going to be doing it. So this is going to be my last trip where I can experience Dino Land USA at Animal Kingdom. It's definitely not my favorite land. It's a really cool concept, just not really my thing. There aren't any rides in Dino Land USA that I want to do, but I definitely want to walk around a little bit just to like say my goodbyes, I guess. Ooh, also at Animal Kingdom, even if I don't do too much, I do want to do a little bit of shopping because this is the year of the Lion King 30th anniversary, which is fun because it's also the year of like my 30th anniversary of being born. So I definitely want to get something that like says Lion King 30th anniversary on it or something. And if there's anywhere in Walt Disney World to get Lion King merch, it is Animal Kingdom. And then Animal Kingdom does close earlier than any other park. So as long as I'm still feeling up to it, I probably will park hop to somewhere else after Animal Kingdom closes. Depending on the show times, I might try to get to Hollywood Studios to see their nighttime show, Fantasmic. If I don't have enough time to get over to see Fantasmic though, then I'll probably just head over to Magic Kingdom instead. That does mean that I've been saving Hollywood Studios for my last park day of the trip because regardless of how well I try to take care of myself, whether I get sick or not, this last day is going to be the day that I am the most tired and the most sore. And if I'm not feeling well enough to do a lot in the parks on this last day, the park that I'll be least upset about cutting things out of my to-do list will be Hollywood Studios. It's just not my favorite park. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate Hollywood Studios by any means, but if you were to ask me to rank the 4 Walt Disney World theme parks in order of favorites, I would have a really hard time trying to figure out the order of Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Animal Kingdom. An argument could be made about any one of those 3 parks for being my all-time favorite park. The only ranking that I can be confident in is Hollywood Studios is absolutely number 4 on my list. Always. Although that might change once they get that Monsters Inc. land. We'll see. But I did not get any Lightning Lane single passes for this park on this day. I did still pay for the Lightning Lane multi-pass though, which cost me $22. It is a Friday. So far, the Lightning Lane reservations that I have are Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, the Frozen Sing-Along, and Aliens Swirling Saucers. I was hoping to get Rock and Roller Coaster, but that's another one that sold out before I could make any reservations. But I'm hoping once I get there, some Lightning Lanes will open up. Otherwise, I might just end up having to wait in the standby line for that one. And then of course there is the nighttime show Fantasmic at Hollywood Studios. It's been a while since I've been able to see it since it took so long to come back after the parks closed in 2020. So I definitely want to see Fantasmic at some point during this trip. My hope is that I can see it earlier on in the trip so I don't have to stay at Hollywood Studios all day waiting for Fantasmic, or I don't have to come back at the end of a day to come back and see Fantasmic. So my goal is to get the few things that I want to get done at Hollywood Studios done as early as possible and then park hop to somewhere else for the rest of the day, but worst case scenario, I will see Fantasmic this evening. And then I leave to come home on Saturday. This flight is a little bit later in the day and I do have a layover. I'm going to be flying back into a local airport, which doesn't have any direct flights to and from Orlando, unfortunately. My flight leaves around 2 p.m., which gives me a little bit of extra time in the morning. If I'm feeling up to it, I might have like a little bit of a mini pool day. Otherwise, I'll just take advantage of the time to sleep in. But then it's time to head back home. I'll be getting back later in the evening, and then my parents hopefully will be able to pick me up and drive me home. And that, my friends, is what I have planned for my solo trip to Walt Disney World to celebrate my 30th birthday. Again, I'm fully ready for everything to change once I get there anyway. This is just what I have planned going into my trip. If you want to be able to compare what I have planned right now and what actually ends up happening once I'm there, make sure you're subscribed to my channel because I do plan on vlogging this trip. So if you're subscribed and have the notifications on, you'll be the first to know when those vlogs come out. In the meantime, I just want to thank you so much for watching this video. I know I was kind of all over the place and really rambly. I just get so excited when I'm planning a Disney trip, and that's not going to change just because I turned 30, but I do genuinely really appreciate you watching my video, and I hope I can plan on seeing you in my next video. Bye!